Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode with Startup Greece. Today I have with me Alex Papacharalambous from Efficious. Alex Mu, it's a pleasure having you here.
Well, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me.
So I cannot wait to listen more about you, but first just tell me anything that would be a fun part of your journey or anything about you that makes sense.
That makes sense. Okay, well, I am a civil engineer. That's my background. It doesn't sound very exciting. I did turn somehow to coding a lot, so I do code a lot of in the PC, and I guess that's how I got connected with the startup world. Just trying to create something, build something, and put it out there, and raise some awareness on it, and then eventually make also some money out of that.
Of course, yes.
So I guess my fun journey is that I'm trying to kind of merge my passion with with my other passion, right? So helping the world and creating something for that.
Being impactful and at the same time utilizing what you know. Of course.
Yes, exactly.
Hopefully we can all do that one day.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't think I'm there yet. I'm just trying to get there, I think.
Well, at least you're on this path, and you have created Efficious, and as I told you, I love the name. So could I please have a little bit more details on some more details around it? So what is Efficious?
Yes. Okay. So I'll give you two ways of saying it actually. So the one is a fun story actually. But what Efficious is a marketplace where companies can exchange unused and underused resources. So in that way, we're trying to reduce waste, so that companies that have some kind of machinery or resources that they warehouse, and well, they're about to become waste. Instead of that, they can exchange it with something else and from another company, right? So they can gain some value out of that of the life cycle. That's the one part. So efficient is actually the name doesn't come from efficient. It's a wordplay between efficient and officious, because the initial idea was that officious, so it's kind of like the office. That's the definition. Because what we wanted to do is to create a digital twin of the office, right? So when you're an entrepreneur and you sit around and you say, you know what, this is what I need. So I'm gonna call another entrepreneur. I'm saying, can you give me this, and maybe I can give you something else in return, right?
Okay.
So that's the play. That's how the name came to be.
Okay, I hadn't figured that out, and thanks for sharing. So as you said, it's really important for you to make impact as much as possible. So I would like to understand, how does what Efficious is doing, how does it align with the principles of circular and sharing economy?
Right. So Efficious stands right in that intersection of circular and sharing economy. So because you essentially have three types, I mean, if you can say, of economy, that will be circular, access, and peer-to-peer. And the intersection of them three is the sharing economy.
Yes.
So, I mean, from the circularity perspective, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get resources that do not end up in waste, right? So but being used for something else. So that increases resource productivity, for example, because instead of buying a new resource, then you can get the used one and use it in your supply chain. That's the one part. And that's also the part of the sharing economy, because through sharing with other companies, you generate collaborations that can last throughout your supply chain, right? So you can find other things that you can use and that they can use and that you can exchange. So that's part of the sharing economy.
That was the next question. So if I understand correctly, you facilitate the exchange of resources, products, right?
Yes.
And infrastructure. How do you do that? Like, technically, how do you do that?
Right. Okay. So if you go into efficious.com, the website is already live. So what you'll find is that you will see a lot of products, right? So Efficious is a marketplace, like most of the marketplace that you'll find out in the market, at least at heart, right? So the magic comes a bit later on. Yes. So you will see a product, you will like it, or I mean, as a company, you will need it, and then you will say that I want it, and I wanna make an offer.
Yes.
Right. So that's the offering comes part, and that's the whole part of Efficious.
Okay.
So when you make an offer, then you can put your resources into that offer, or you can put money as well, because essentially we want to exchange with anything, right? Of course, we facilitate and we kind of motivate people to use to exchange with resources and even services, actually.
Yes.
So exchange with something, and that's part of the rewards. But you can also add money. So when you make an offer, a chat is created, and then the two companies can discuss how that offer looks like and whether that should be amended somehow. And when they finish, then they can say that, okay, this exchange has happened. They click on a button, and then the rewards mechanism comes into play to provide them with points.
Okay. So it's also a very customer-friendly procedure, if I understand correctly.
Well, we try. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be as much customer-friendly as you can, right? But there are always improvements in the user interface that can happen.
Yes, but I understand that customer journey is the one of the primary goals, and that was the initial thought. If I understand correctly, that was also the initial thought: make things easy for these kinds of exchanges. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there are. I mean, because it's a B2B marketplace, there's and because we want to exchange, so what we're requesting is that give us your things so you can get more things, right? So that's the
Yes.
whole.
Okay.
So it is quite hard to get the user requirements. We talked with a lot of companies because we did some small scale pilots, and we tried to understand exactly what a company would need to make this
Yes.
this exchange more trustworthy, more interesting for them.
Yes.
Reduce the time also, because that's important. We're talking with companies; we don't want to waste their time.
Yes.
So it was hard to get there, but it was a journey for us as well.
Sure. I bet. And if I remember correctly, it's not many months that this has been out, right?
Right. Yes. So the project it started as a project, and through ESPA funds, so the regional funds, and Ερευνό Δημιουργό και Καινοτομό is a Greek program for supporting this kind of innovative products. And the project finished on this summer 2023. And well, I mean, in terms of processing, it hasn't finished yet, but it will
Yes.
in the next days.
Yes.
And yeah, after that, we started. Now we're scaling up. We're doing larger scale pilots. But yes, that's how it started.
Okay. And how do you make money?
Yeah, well, yeah, so early stage. I would
I
say that we
know.
do make money, but it's not.
Are you planning on making money?
Yeah, of course we are planning on making money. That's the whole idea behind it. Okay,
Okay.
so because when it was part of the project, I mean, it was too early stage. I mean, even I would say pre-seed, even pre-seed actually. So and also because of the project, didn't really make sense to charge anything. Now we are experimenting with the pricing model of Efficious, and there are a lot of ideas there that we can think. And so, as I said, Efficious has a point system, right?
Yes.
The whole idea behind it is to motivate companies to exchange with resources rather than money.
Yeah.
And it's also the whole idea is to exchange resources that have a lot of life cycle left. That's the good for the environment. We don't want to waste things that have a lot of life cycle left.
Of
So
course.
the point system is part of the pricing model in our mind. When you exchange with resources that have a lot of life cycle left, you get more points. That means that you pay less for using Efficious. That's the idea. That's how we're planning on making
So the
money.
more the impact, the greater the discount?
Yes, exactly. That's the idea. So that's the idea of the motivation, and that's also part of our of what we want to put out to the world, right?
Put out to the world, yes.
Yes. So that you have to save the environment, you have to reduce your waste because we're going to need 2 times the size of the Earth in a couple of years.
Yes.
To support it.
Great. Okay. And who are you working with? So I understand that it's more hardcore machinery and these kinds of products, but it might be something different. So what is the customer avatar for you?
Yeah, right. That's a good question. So when we did the project, we were quite amazed with the use cases that you can find. So I mean, I think the biggest market out there for of unused resources will be construction sites and construction industry, which I think the handling cost is around 600 or 700 billion dollars per year, right? But there is also electronic waste that is quite a lot, and we're discussing this a lot, especially with the chips potential crisis, and food waste, a lot of food waste. And I mean, even if you think of unused software, just the US alone, the unused software is $30 billion worth of unused software. Just the United States, right? So what I'm saying is that there is a lot of waste that's out there. So for us, it's important to find out the appropriate market to land first.
Yes.
And now we're discussing with people in the food market and in the construction market because those are the biggest ones out there. However, I mean, it's a huge untapped market, right? So I think we want to progress to other industries quite fast as well.
Okay, which would be like your top three industries, like ideal top three industries?
Ideal, well, first of all, construction. Then we would go to food, and we're also discussing, because Greece is quite huge on that, with the hospitality, horeca type of, because there is a lot of food waste, there is a lot of linens that can be reused and things like that. And we're discussing now with partners and trying to find out specific use case that we can put on Efficious.
Okay. And how are you planning to increase customer retention after a point where you have enough customers to support something like that?
Yeah, well, so I mean, that's the $1 million question usually, I think. So
It is
the issue
indeed.
is that it
I
is,
have a
right?
list of questions. I'm reading them while we speak.
Yeah, I understand that. So I think a company comes to Efficious because, I mean, the good thing with our motto is that we are good for the companies because we generate value, and we're good for the environment because we reduce wastage.
Yes.
That's a company would come for the first one, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But it is surprising that when we're discussing with companies, they're also interested in the latter one. So and then we're discussing, okay, so how do you want to measure that? And
Yes.
there is the ESG metrics that are important for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially even outside of Europe, BlackRock has done a move for incorporating ESG metrics into medium and small scale companies as well. So it is now becoming, how do you say, it is impactful in your everyday. It's not something that's far away to measure, right? So we're discussing with them about generating ESG metrics from Efficious. So instead of only coming for the value that you can get from exchanging results, you can also come for the environment, and that's actually pragmatic now because it's your first encountering with the bank and with the whole financial system, right?
Yes.
So there's that.
If I'm not mistaken, I think, if I remember correctly, from 2024, there's going to be mandatory reporting for small businesses, which has really changed the landscape on carbon emissions reporting, carbon footprint reporting, and anything related to environmental effects from a corporation or now from small businesses. So it's going to change the landscape, and not only the landscape of reporting, but also let's say the prioritization of green and sustainable collaborations, because someone would choose impact over maybe some more zeros in the end of the numbers, just because it's mandatory from now on. So
yes,
yeah,
exactly. So that's the point, right? So I mean, it's a pragmatic need. We are going to need 2 times the size of the Earth, right? We only a small percentage of the world economy is circular, while it could be, right? So these are hard facts that we need to address as a society and a civilization and humanity, right? So that's important. But on the other hand, the good thing is that, well, the good thing, I don't know if it's a good thing, but what's happening is that it's becoming impactful on the financial domain as well. So that means that companies need to address it. Of course, Efficious, at least for now, doesn't plan on creating ESG metrics holistically. But in terms of the world, or in terms of the exchange economy and the sharing economy, then we are planning on creating ESG metrics there.
Great. Okay. So you gave me some data and some numbers around Efficious, but could you please give me an idea about the market size for this service? If you have any projections, any estimations.
we have, I mean, it is, the thing is that it's so huge. That's so the use cases that we have found, and that would be the market that say that use cases where there are a lot of wastage of resources. That's more than $1 trillion per year that is happening. So that means that, well, I'm not saying that we can tap the entire thing, right? But the companies that are wasting resources are 100%. There is no company that is not wasting some resources, or that is not implementing some kind of unfriendly to the environment, and it can be something that they are not unaware of, right? So it can be something that they just do. So I'm going to say that 100% of companies waste resource, even companies that don't have like accounting offices. And you would say that, okay, what are they doing? They're wasting a lot of paper. They're wasting a lot of office space.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of the office space that is with the remote work that we're just now is sitting, right?
Yeah.
So I went on a trip to San Francisco like a month ago, and the San Francisco has so many empty offices right now because, of course, companies are remote working.
Yes.
So there are it's a lot of things that we need to do to address this capacity, right?
Yeah.
Just an estimation of that, at the World Economic Forum they made a study, and they found out that the circular economy market and opportunity for that is about $4.5 trillion worth by 2030.
Yes.
So everything is going upwards right now, and people are addressing this, and that's where we want to be.
It was mostly talked about, but if you're asking my opinion, it was even though it was the most talked about in the WEF, it was the less really actually taken care of as a matter. Like talking position wise. So even if they positioned philosophically, there have not been many moves after the COP 27, was it the last one?
I think so.
COP
Yeah, but
27.
you mean towards circularity and circular economy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you ask even advanced companies, and if you just ask them, how are you implementing circular strategies? I think most would not know. So even smaller companies, if you ask them, how are you gonna go into the circularity and circular economy, they would not know, because
No.
there are no tools out there that can implement this somehow, and Efficious is one of them.
Yes, it is, and it's a great point to grab the wagon and go and take the train and make it work. And I believe that the impact of Efficious can be extreme also in Greece due to the maritime industry.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I know. I have some thoughts. So I really like that we're not just following my list here. So I like that we're making this conversation because it's also touching very pressing matters locally, and I'm coming from an island, so the tourism industry here would really appreciate solutions like that.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go into the hospitality industry, I mean, especially the way that this is implemented in islands, it's not sustainable.
Not
I'd say.
sustainable at all. Not efficient at all.
No. So it is, efficiency is one of them, right? So that's also a part of, you need to address this holistically. So efficiency is one. It's a really big aspect, but there are a lot of other aspects that somebody will need to tackle. And maybe efficiency is not going to go into that, but connecting with this kind of initiatives is important for us.
Yes.
So generate some kind of rapport and some kind of collaboration.
Collaborations, yeah.
Yeah, collaboration is, I think, is the most the most fundamental thing we can do to get this forward.
Having said that, what are you first of all, what are the locations that you're mostly interested in, and how are you planning on further developing and expanding?
Right. So so where we are right now is that we did some small scale pilots, and that would be with companies in Greece. I think it was 15 companies, and the small scale pilot just was about discussing with them, and just very premature kind of discussions. Right now, we're going into larger scale pilots. We're actually getting companies to join Efficious and see the marketplace and then try to determine the business model, the pricing model as well, and everything that works and doesn't. So the rule is 1, 5, 10, right? And then 10, 50, 100 to get the customers on board. So that's the important thing that we're trying to do right now. We're on the 1. And so that happens geographically. And it happens geographically because you have to consider the industrial ecosystem. And if you see for example, okay, Athens is a huge city, right? But if you see, for example, Larissa or Corfu, so Kirkira, then you would see that they have the needs they have and the capabilities they have are usually uniform across the geographic area. So logistics, for example, is one hand. There are specific logistics agencies. There are specific needs, specific industries generating resources, right? Again, Athens is huge, but it's a metropolis. So when we're going into that area, we must consider the fact that it has a specific identity. So until we find out a lot of those different identities and we are capable of adapting and reach an economy of scale, then we're going to go geographically. So first we're going to look into Athens, we're going to look into Thessaloniki, and that industry is there, and then we're going to expand to other regions in Greece, and then hopefully take it abroad as well, going maybe through Balkans and Central Europe, so that will be creating new ecosystems that can grow, right?
Correct.
So that's the
yes,
idea.
Of course. And I did not let you finish because I asked about how are you planning on seeing Efficious develop and expand, and also how do you see it affecting the future on a global scale, like.
Well, I mean, I want to measure actual reduction of waste, right? I really want to see that. So you need to get a baseline of what's happening right now, which are not good data right now in Greece. You don't have the data for that. And once you get that baseline, then you go through the years and you see how much this improves. And you generate tools to make it better, right? That's the idea. While creating values for your customers. And so important thing for us is to get the pilots of this year, because now we're going to go to 3 large-scale pilots, get this going, to get the baseline and see what's happening. And then after that, we want to expand, get more customers on board, and then see how this can progress organically, not only just in a forced pilot way. So that's the point there. So I want to get some user requirements. That's what I want to get. I want to hear people using Efficious telling me what's wrong and then
telling you, giving you feedback and helping you just make it better.
Yes, because this also goes into very nice discussions about the environment and about waste and about how we can tackle this even better. And because it's a new kind of idea, sales right now are consultative, so we need to tell them that it's good and we need to explain it. After you get this going, it becomes much easier. So that's the 10, 50, 100 or 10, 1, 10, 100 rule. Because after that, people are talking about it. People are seeing the value without us being there to explain it.
Exactly. To persuade them that this is also like financially efficient for them. Like.
Exactly, right? That's where the efficient comes into play.
No, it makes sense, but I think that people mostly work with numbers and data, so people would only be persuaded that this makes sense if they understand the amount of money that they would save from this as a solution.
Right, which is reasonable. If you think about it, one of the ESG metrics is society. I mean, as a company, you are supporting people, right? You're paying their wages. You're supporting families in that, and you don't want to go into bad decision making with money, right? Because that will endanger their jobs. So it's important that the company makes sound decisions based on money and profit, and we wanna use that to save the environment. That's the idea behind Efficious.
Yeah. To me, it's very clear. I totally get it. It's cool. I'm on board already. So, which are who is your competitor? I understand that competition is not only direct here. So, it's not necessarily another Efficious kind of company, but there's definitely the indirect competition of just wasting and throwing away the equipment or just letting it rot in a,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
corner. So it's not only about it's not only about direct competition, it's also about what do they do if they do not use you. So
Yes, right. So as a marketplace, our vision here is to kind of get everybody together. And we're not talking only about companies that want to exchange, but we're talking also with companies that are doing recycling.
yeah.
We're also talking with companies that are accepting giveaways and,
Okay.
and charity as well.
Mhm.
We're also talking with companies that are into the wasting. I mean, it's municipal waste in Greece is usually it's public, so
Yeah.
it's hard to unless it's industrial, then it's okay. Then it's a little bit different. However, the idea is that we're gonna get everybody together into this ecosystem in this circular economy. And I'm not saying that we want to take the bread from the companies that are doing the wasting and because transporting waste sometimes it's inevitable, so it's you don't want to create a problem there, but you want to get them together, logistics companies with people that are transporting. So I'm not going to say that those standard models, business models, are competitors. Well, you can see them for now, yes, of course, and they can see us as such, but we're planning on engaging with them as well. There are some other companies around Europe. The most clear competitor would be Flow2, and which is a company based, I think, in Germany. And they are what they're doing is that they're creating a platform such as a marketplace, but for a specific company and maybe sometimes a specific cluster as well. So
Yes.
they're going into a specific mode, which is nice, but it's a little bit different from what we are doing.
Yes.
And yeah, on the other hand, given what Efficious is, I think that even if we find a company like Flow2, which is doing something competitive, then we want to build with them. We want to see them as partners
That
because at
was
the end of the day,
exactly, that was my thought exactly.
yeah,
I understand that the business model in which you work does not necessarily need to have a competitive, let's say, character among these kind of companies,
right,
because
exactly,
you're not too many, so you can collaborate towards something and get
exactly,
part of the pie and create more impact at the same time.
exactly. And if we find out a good proposition for that kind of partnering, I think that will be optimal for everybody
Yeah.
and for the environment, right?
And
That's the
for the
point.
for the society too. Plus, Germany is it's an ecosystem that has generated loads of startups lately around green, sustainable
Right.
business.
And Norway as well.
And
They have a
Norway
lot
as
of work.
well, exactly. Yeah, Germany and Norway for sure. So we might need to get again to this call because we only have 10 minutes, but I think
Sure.
we're gonna be fine. Let's see. I don't wanna hurry. So my question is, I understand that it's a pretty early stage, but do you think
Yes.
that you carry a competitive advantage generally for the market, not necessarily towards your competition?
Well, I'd say that, I mean,
Maybe it's the team.
competitively,
Maybe it's some specific way that you work that makes that.
yeah. Well, I think in terms of competitive advantage, it is the team. I think the team is fundamental to this, and the team
Mm,
consists of four people actually, and I'm the one. You could say I was the founder and the initiator of the
yeah.
idea, but I mean, of course, any kind of idea is becoming after some time, it's a team part. It's not my thing. So
Yes.
it's me, it's Anna, Yorgos, and Zoe,
Mm-hmm.
and each one of them contributes in a different way into the
Mm,
project. I would say that I'm the product manager
mm-hmm.
actually in that.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the team is fundamental. Is because we all have the same vision, and that it's everybody looks at it in a different way. So we have expertise from industry, we have expertise from electrical engineering, and everything comes into play here. But I think it's also the part that when we're discussing with companies, it is that we want to generate value for them. And while we're doing this exchange with the environment, and that we're going to get everybody into this platform. And so it's more of a collaborative kind of business model that we have, rather than a I want to get you, not you kind of business model. So that holisticality is what I think sets us apart with everybody else. Because even if you see at our competitors, Flow2, for example, doesn't connect with logistics companies at all, because it's another kind of business entirely. But for us, it's not. For us, it's inherent to what we do. So I guess, yes, it's the team for sure. And I mean, I don't think I would be able to do this with any other kind of people that we are currently in the team. But I think it's also the part that we are a holistic platform. And I think that because it's four of us and everybody has a different idea on that, I think it's also why we are a holistic platform as well.
Yes. And if you're asking me, I think, okay. If you're asking me, the team is probably what would make a difference in all cases in any company, because the diversity of the roles and the application of each background can be really determining for the future of the company. And so if you have the same vision and the same mission, then it only makes sense that it's advantageous in comparison to anything else. So I'm not gonna ask for an economic moat right now, because I think it's a little bit early, even though I'm sure that you're planning on building a sustainable economic moat in your ways. But I'm going to ask, what specific benefits can companies expect to gain from using Efficious, besides the value that you're giving as part of the impact that you want to have, the
All right.
environmental impact. I'm going to bring my chart
Well,
now.
yeah, of course. Well, so, but I will keep talking though whilst you do
No,
your
I'm
charge.
back. I was really quick.
Cool. Well, so when we're discussing with them, we're saying that the first thing that they can do, I mean, beyond the environment, is that they can generate new revenue streams, and
Okay.
they can find
Awesome.
resources that they wouldn't find otherwise, and
Okay.
they can put into their system, and that also comes into increased margins for them, because at the end of the day, they're going to look at the numbers and they're going to see that they exchange something with something else, and that will show improve better margins. The other thing is increased resource productivity. And resource productivity is a tricky term. We're using it a lot in European Union, and I mean, in plain terms, it's the amount of resources we use to generate a specific type of resource, right? So think of all of microelectronics, and think of all the components and the labor that is required to make something work, like a smartphone.
Yes.
So if, for example, we're using less resources to make it, then that will be increased resource productivity. Again, in plain terms, in layman. So when you're using resources that are not new, but they are used, and or you can take them and using some kind of manufacturing, you can subtract something, or even do additive manufacturing like 3D printing, and then you can create something new out of that. Then that increases your resource productivity. So that's also a way that a company can gain using Efficious. And the last one is, I'm gonna say it again, but it's collaborations, because you build on that, and those can improve and can generate again new business models out of that.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Okay, so I understand that it's also a bit early to talk about financials, but why not? Could you please share any kinds of estimations or numbers about your current status, or even projections for the next 3 to 5 years? Anything that would make sense?
Okay, so regarding that, I think again, if you just consider that the market is like I think it's huge, then what we're planning to do is that initially we don't have any plans for charging the companies. We want to generate that critical mass. We want to generate companies exchanging resources. But when we do, the pricing model, I think is gonna drive extremely good kind of margins for Efficious. And of course, we're also planning to invest some of that into positive actions for the environment. That's also an idea that we might have, depending on the impact investing or normal type investing we're going to go into. Efficious scales as a marketplace. So we have marketplace type of numbers. I cannot give a good estimation right now, unfortunately, because I
No,
don't
it's
have any
okay. We can talk about it in a few months. I believe that it's gonna
Yes.
be, yeah, it would make
Yeah.
more sense.
I think after we set out the pricing model, I think it's gonna go much easier.
Yeah, of course. So are you currently getting some kinds of funding? Are you bootstrapping? Are you an opening around?
We are bootstrapping. I think before finalizing the three pilots that we're having in mind, like the large scale pilots, I think we are pre-seed, but
Yeah,
we are planning on opening around in about 6 months from now,
great.
and
Okay.
that would be for pre-seed funding that we're planning to close by the end of this year or by the beginning of the next year.
Mhm.
Yes, so there's that.
Okay. And how are you planning on getting the investment back? I understand that it's also part of making collaborations and the things that you have already told me. But when are you expecting to close the first round? So if you're opening it,
Well,
what are
I think we're going to open it in about September to October of
okay.
24. Planning on closing it on February 2025.
Okay.
If things go well. We're also planning. Well, I think getting money back from that is that we're going to focus on sales. So if an investor asks me, I will say sales,
Sales
sales,
and
sales.
marketing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think that's the most important part you can do in the pre-seed round is that you need to get money in, right? You need to request for funds when you don't need
Of course,
funds.
of
So
course.
pre-seed means that you need to be able to support yourself, you need to be able to tackle your assumptions, and you need to be able to answer them, right?
Yeah.
If you can't, then what's the point, right? You're kind of experimenting in
Yes.
this regard. So we're planning on getting that pre-seed, checking out what's happening, if that works, what doesn't, and then going into a seed round much better, much more mature, and raising more funds and making more money for the investors.
Which was that you
Yes.
are going to start raising funds. You're going to open a round. And currently, let's not talk about the estimated amount of
Right.
money because it's indeed early stage and this might change depending on how you're going to move on in your next steps. But since you're currently not raising funds, what would an investor be able to help you with that is not
Yeah.
financial at this point?
Yeah, well, so we are discussing with investors actually, and I think that's why this question is very relevant. But of course, since we are not raising funds, we are discussing other topics. So one aspect would be we are looking for advisors in the market. So that would be
Mm.
interesting to create a good advisory board that would get up towards before raising money. So
Hmm.
any kind of expert in the field. Would love to talk about this and would love to talk about Efficious value proposition and the business model and get them on board into an advisory role. That would be
What
the
would
first thing.
what would the ideal background be for this advisory board? These things that we're talking about is not in my question list, but I think it's really important to have an idea
Right.
about what people we could onboard, you could onboard in order to maximize efficiency when it comes to the
Right.
advisory abilities.
So I think the primary role would be, and the most obvious one would be someone that is an expert on a specific market that
Hmm.
they know that there are a lot of wasted. So that means that we can improve our proposition when we're discussing with that specific
Hmm.
industry.
Hmm.
That would be the first. The second would be some kind of Green Deal expert in European Union or an expert
Mm.
on such matters. So more from the greening slash
ESG,
manufacturing. Yes.
sustainable
And
goals.
the ESG, sustainable goals, yes. And I would say a last one would be the ESG, and that would be some kind of financial expert related with the financial markets. And that way we can connect with them, and then we can improve our proposition towards the ESG metrics, which
Hmm.
is going to come a little bit later, actually. But it still, I think, is quite relevant for now to start. But I think, yeah, so that would be the order. Some industry experts, some expert on Green Deal and sustainable development goals, and then some financial expert on the ESG market.
Hmm. And probably maybe people from the logistics industry.
Yeah, so logistics is a huge thing, and actually we discussed with a really big firm some time ago, and they said, well, you know what, I think this is a problem with the logistics, but I mean, of course, it's an issue, right? So if you think of
That's what we're
logistics,
trying to solve, guys. That's why.
right, and you want to exchange resources, then that means that I maybe need to exchange a big machinery on the one hand with a lot of heavyweight resource on the other.
Mm.
But what I will say to this is, I think that depending on what it is, then the positive gains for the environment outweighs the transportation of the goods. So getting logistics companies on board and Efficious is one of our primary goals as well. So we want to get people there. We want to connect them with the companies that want to exchange resources because it generates value for them, right?
Mm-hmm. A good profiling would be probably a priority. So find logistic companies that actually have this
Yes.
green orientation as a top priority in their values list. So maybe a good profiling and market research in Greece, at least, would be a good thing to do. I'm very, it's apparent that I'm very interested in this, so I'm going completely off board and I'm gonna get back because we need to close it up. So,
Cool, cool.
so
Well, it's been lovely. It's been lovely talking with you. So you were very receptive. So
thank you.
that was
I could
perfect.
keep on going for hours with this matter because I believe that especially Greece, especially Greece has so much potential in
Yes,
reusing, repurposing, exchanging resources, and especially due to the maritime and tourism industry, we would really make a huge difference in the market, and we would help the society financially, job wise.
right.
So that's why it's so interesting to me. Anyway, I'm gonna
Can
get
I
back
just
on.
give you a couple of numbers here because you're discussing this. Actually, I'll give you two numbers and a case that we found. So the one thing that is coming out of literature is that only 9% of the world economy is circular right now, and despite huge efforts towards making it, because companies don't know how to engage with circularity. The number is 572 billion euros lost due to inefficient utilization of resources and that's per year, right? So it's a huge issue that we're trying to address. And but if you just don't think of tangible assets, right? Just think of people, right? Just think of we have found a case where a factory they required workers on the winter months, but they couldn't do anything on the summer months. So because they had a seasonal type of demand, they would have to lay off people, and then they would have to find them again
Yeah.
at when the new winter season comes. And you had another factory that had the exact opposite cycle of seasonality. And the question then, our discussion was, okay, so why don't you exchange the
Exchange
personnel?
personnel. Yeah.
Yeah, so people keep their jobs throughout the year. They don't have to go on mandatory layoffs.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through the HR costs, right? You generate value for everybody. And actually they were close by, so everybody would be happy with this. And
Yes.
yeah, of course there are a lot of things to solve, right? But these are just some very simple cases. And then you say 9% of the world is circular, and you say, well, what the heck?
Yeah.
We should try more.
We should try more. You're absolutely right. So I will ask, even though I consider it early, but it's an interesting question as we discussed earlier. I will also ask about any exit strategy that you might have in
Yes.
mind.
Well, I think every kind of market has a sweet spot for exiting. I mean, and depending also on your ambition, we are very ambitious, as you probably have guessed. So
Yeah,
we're not,
I figured it
we want to
out.
make this a global concept. We don't want to make this a Greek concept per se, but of course that's where we're based right now. So, and there are a lot of use cases here as well. So we don't know the sweet spot of the market, but what I can say is that, of course, at the end of the day, we are entrepreneurs, we're business people, and finding that sweet spot is a priority for us. So finding that good valuation where we can get, and I mean that's a unicorn type of thing we're trying to build, right? maybe we don't get there, but that's where we're targeting to.
Yeah.
And getting that sweet spot and getting that sweet spot straight is important for us. And it will be important for our investors as well. So we're going to work this with them.
Great. Okay, so I believe we have pretty much covered all topics that are relevant, at least at this stage in which you're in currently. And of course, if there's anything that you would like to share, I'm pretty open to listening to it. But to me, the most important thing is to just take a look again at the team and talk about the team a little bit before we close it up. You told me that you have multidisciplinary backgrounds.
Yes.
So you have engineers, you have people in the financial with a financial background. Is this true, or am I just
A
mistaken?
business. I'd say a business background.
Business.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So what would you like to tell me about the team?
Well, we have worked together in European research projects.
Yes.
That's actually where this came to be. So for years, and we're all young. I mean, it's all the same age approximately. I think I'm the older, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I'm old now. So yeah, it's just a realization. So we have three civil engineers. One of them with a business acuity and a business background has done an MBA. We have industry expertise from working with factories. Anna is one of them. We have experience with we discussed also in backstage with the CO2 emissions exchange market. So that's another part which we don't tackle in Efficious yet, but it's an expertise we do have. So all of us together, we work on operation. We work on 100% of the product, and we also have coders and a team on the back that are doing the coding for the platform. Right?
Great.
So,
are you planning on onboarding people in the team? Are you planning on hiring at some point soon?
Soon, no. We believe that
soon?
This year, yeah, soon, yes. if that's, yeah. So this year, I think we suffice for getting the product and doing the three big pilots that we have in mind. Yeah. But of course, if we're discussing with investors, I mean, the money is not for making our salaries; it's for getting a team and getting our message out there. Yeah. And the most important aspect would be sales, with that we're planning to onboard, and designers for converting user requirements to actual designs on the platform. But I think sales is the primary concern. Yeah. I would totally agree with you. Okay, so Alex, if there's nothing else that you would like to share with me, I'm gonna close it up. So I'm gonna close it up with a call to action. If there are people in the audience listening to us that are in the industry or have any sorts of experience in the industry, or maybe they're just very interesting in what Efficious is doing and would like to get in touch with either Alex and his team or me myself, you could definitely do that. You can reach out to us via email or social media and pose a question, give some feedback. I believe that also Alex and Efficious as the team really believe in the power of feedback. So anything relevant, anything that would make sense and make the product, the service better, just please feel free to shoot us a text or an email, and I'd be glad to connect you with Alex and his team. So that's all from me. Anything that you would like to share? Well, I think that beyond the product, right? Beyond marketing a product, I think that even if somebody doesn't like the product, then we should get back on the message and the message of the product. And even if you don't want to follow that specific product, that's fine. Share the message of the product. I think it's important to get it out there, to get people involved into exchanging, into circular logics and circular economy. And yeah, I think that's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we're recording this, actually. So yeah, that's true as well. Yes. So yes. So please
Yes, make sure to forward this to anyone interested, and make sure to follow Efficious and whatever they're doing in order to assist them and help them with feedback.